What's happening? Is he okay? Do something! Hurried footsteps fell behind her, and she whirled around to see the other two flight attendants barreling toward her. What happened? Is Captain Fuller dead? What about the co-pilot? He's locked in there with that maniac. What do we do? Panic drew deep lines on her co-worker's tense face, and she spoke in a quiet, shaky voice. Mickey focused on evening her breaths, and her mind raced. None of them had ever dealt with this before. They had to stay calm, or at least pretend to stay calm while they did something. She was in charge, and she needed to act. Now. Mickey straightened herself and forced down the panic clawing at her throat. They had to get into the flight deck. She locked the cart in place, hitched her tight blue pencil skirt high on her thighs, and climbed over it. Her knees knocked a stack of plastic cups to the floor, and something wet seeped into her skirt. Get this damn thing out of the way, and one of you contact air traffic control, she yelled over her shoulder to the two other flight attendants, and raced toward the front of the plane. She needed to get to the keypad on the cockpit door. The nose of the plane dipped low, and Mickey stumbled forward. Her palm slammed against the door to the flight deck, and gravity pressed her weight against cold steel. Pain shot through her body like sparks from a fire. She sank to her knees and turned, pressing her back to the wall. She closed her eyes, blocking out the screams, and tried to regain her equilibrium. The plane shook as it plummeted down at a sharp angle toward the ground. Chaos unfolded around her. She opened her eyes, and air masks dangled above the passengers, and they struggled to get them on. Luggage fell from overhead bins. A strong hand gripped hers and hauled her to her feet. She tipped her head back to bring in the full length of the man in front of her. The intense gray eyes of the passenger she'd wanted to smack stared down at her. His mouth was set in a firm line, and his broad shoulders blocked out her view of the hysteria taking place in the cabin behind him. The plane shook even more, testing her balance, and she squeezed his hand. His unwavering stare brought a sense of calm over her. You need to get me in there. He nodded past her toward the cockpit. She let go of his hand, and her stomach pitched like the waves of a tsunami. She didn't have time to deal with a demanding passenger who wanted to play hero. She needed to get into the flight deck and figure out how to get everyone off this plane alive. But how could she do that if a psychopath was in control of the aircraft? Captain Fuller. She needed to make sure he was alive, and maybe he could still land the plane. Get me the hell in there. They staggered as the plane dipped to the side. He fell forward, pinning her back to the wall. Her chest heaved in and out, while her pulse spiked as the hard muscles of his body pressed against her. He reached behind his back and pulled a gun out from underneath his jacket. I'm FBI. A sharp gasp escaped her lips, and her eyes searched his. The intensity never left them. But this time, the gray steel gazing down on her gave her strength, courage to do whatever the hell she needed to get out of the plane alive. She choked down a sob, turned toward the keypad, and typed in the code. An FBI agent with a gun could do a hell of a lot more than she could. The FBI agent pushed past her and swung open the door. He stormed into the flight deck while Mickey stared in horror at the man in beige, sitting in the captain's seat. The co-pilot slumped over the controls in front of him. The hijacker whipped around to face them, but before he could react, the FBI agent smashed his fist into the terrorist's jaw. The man's head lolled to the side. The agent grabbed a set of handcuffs from his back pocket and slapped them on the criminal. Do you know how to fly this thing? The agent asked with a steady voice. Mickey turned toward the cabin while the man sat down in the captain's chair. A few passengers stood in the tiny spaces in front of their seats, while others sat still as statues. Chaos reigned, but she didn't have time to deal with them. Passengers were zeroing in on her. She held her hand up to stop approaching do-gooders. She ran in the bathroom and found Captain Fuller hunched over on the floor. The blood-stained knife lay on the ground, and the captain had both hands pressed against his wound. Thick blood oozed between his fingers. Mickey pressed her hand to her mouth to block out the overpowering metallic scent of blood. Captain Fuller lifted his head to look at her. A grimace contorted the already deep lines of his face into small ravines. Sweat trickled down his brow. Help! Do we have a doctor on board? She yelled behind her and grabbed paper towels from overhead. She fell to her knees to press the paper towels against his side.